Donald Peterson presents The True Adventures of Junior G-Men.
The Junior G-Men are on the air, speeding to your homes, ready for action!
Stand by. All Junior G-Men, stand by. Stand by for the thrilling details of the mystery of Cemetery Hill. Calling all Junior G-Men. Calling all Junior G-Men. Stand by for report of Junior G-Men Jerry Knox concerning...
The Mystery of Cemetery Hill.
Conclusion of report number 936 is given by Operator Jerry Knox of Barclay.
Well, fellas, I'm not going to repeat much of what's gone before because it'll all be explained during tonight's show. Now, you remember the other night I finished up by telling you that Mr. Donnelly, a private detective, came to my house to see me. Seemed that the Lincoln Life Insurance Company had employed him to investigate Charlie Larkin's life. You see, Charlie's life had been insured by that company to the extent of $25,000. Now, Mr. Donnelly had just finished explaining to Dad and me that if Charlie were killed accidentally, he would not have been insured for his visit.
And now, Jerry, I want you to tell me all about Joe Larkin. What sort of a man is he?
Well, I always liked him. He was always nice to me, and, oh, gosh, I just can't believe that he'd kill his own brother.
Well, you never can tell about things like that, Jerry. That's one of the first things a good detective learns.
Yes, I know, but... Oh, gee whiz. Joe was always so calm and peaceful. Why, the only time I ever heard of his losing his temper was the time he... Holy cats.
What's the matter?
Listen, a few days before Charlie arrived in Barclay, I dropped in to see Joe. He'd broken his glasses, and, well, he explained that he'd received a letter from Charlie, and that it made him so mad to think that his brother was coming to stay with him that he pounded on the table where he'd laid his glasses. And, of course, he smashed them.
There, you see. That proves he hated Charlie and that he fully...
Yeah, yes, I know. But Joe wouldn't kill a man. Why, it'd be more like Charlie to do a thing like that. Yeah, Joe might have done... Hey, wait a second.
What's the matter?
I've got a hunch. A crazy kind of a hunch. But if I'm right, Joe will never collect that $50,000.
What do you mean?
I can't explain yet, Mr. Donnelly. Not yet. But if everything goes all right, the mystery may be cleared up sometime tomorrow afternoon. Of course, I haven't any proof yet, but I'll get it. You just wait and see. And bright and early the next morning, I went to Joe's hut up on top of Cemetery Hill. I knocked at the door and waited for Joe to answer.
Well, what do you... What? Oh, hello, Jerry.
Hello, Joe. Mind if I come in?
Why, not at all. In fact, I'm glad to see you. Come right in.
Thanks.
Ah, there we are. Sit down, sit down.
Well, thanks. How are you feeling these days?
Oh, fair enough, I guess. I'd feel a lot better, though, if only them detectives would stop coming around and asking a lot of foolish questions.
Why, I suppose I'm partly to blame for that, Joe. I should never mention those men in the car.
Yep, I guess it was that kind of started things going. Although there probably would have been some kind of an investigation anyway. You see, Charlie had a lot of insurance. And, well, those companies always make sure before paying off. And after all, you can't blame them for that.
No, I suppose not. But your worries are almost over, Joe. I was talking to the chief of police yesterday, and he told me that he and everyone else is more than convinced that it was an accident.
Well, say, that's mighty good news. Maybe I'll be getting a little rest and peace around here.
To say nothing of a nice fat check from the insurance company. Gosh, what are you going to do with all that money, Joe?
Well, I don't rightly know, Jerry. I was thinking of taking a little trip.
You ought to be able to take quite a trip with $25,000 in your pocket.
Yes, but it'll be more than that, Jerry.
Huh?
It'll be $50,000. You see, Charlie was killed in an accident, and that means that the insurance company has to pay double.
Oh, I see. Gosh, $50,000.
Yep, $50,000. Why, I'll be rich, Jerry. Independent for the rest of my life. I'll be able to sit back and enjoy life.
Yeah, that's right. Gee whiz, Charlie sure must have thought a lot of you.
Yep, I guess he did. Good old Charlie. Too bad I never appreciated him while he was alive.
Well, I suppose you often wish that you'd been... Say, Joe, what's that funny smell?
Smell? Why, I don't smell anything. No, sir, not a thing.
That's funny. I could have sworn I... Oh, it was probably my imagination.
Well, I guess that's about the size of it.
Gosh, you cut your finger, didn't you, Joe?
Yeah, it's not bad. Just a little scratch.
Scratch, nothing. It's an honest-to-goodness cut. And plenty deep, too. Let's see if...
Oh, ouch, oh, don't grab hold of it like that. It's still sore.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. Awfully sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I suppose I should keep it bandaged until it heals over, but I hate to have a finger all bandaged.
Well, shortly after that, I left the hut and went straight to headquarters. I told my story to the chief of police, and after he had heard it, he sent for Mr. Donnelly, the private detective. And he arrived at headquarters.
Sit down, Donnelly.
Okay, thanks. Now, what's up?
Well, I'll tell you, Donnelly. This is Class A, and Junior G-Man Jerry Knox is going to give us a little lesson in criminal investigation.
What do you mean?
You'll find out. Go ahead, Jerry. Tell him the story just as you told it to me.
Yes, sir. Well, you see, it all began almost 4 months ago, on the day Joe Larkin received the first news of his brother's coming to Berkeley. You see, it was then that Joe told me about Charlie's having been mixed up with some gangsters, and that they were after him.
The gangsters again. I thought we'd finished with them.
Yeah, just about. Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, a few days later, I met Charlie Larkin at the station. He'd just gotten off the train, and...
Then you had seen him before.
No, I hadn't.
Well, then how did you recognize him?
Well, you see, Joe and Charlie looked a lot alike. It was easy to see the resemblance, even though Charlie didn't have a beard and didn't wear glasses like Joe did.
Oh, I see. Well, go on.
Well, during the next couple of weeks, I often went to visit Joe and Charlie. And then all of a sudden, I got a part-time job in Mr. Judson's grocery store. And what with the job and schoolwork, I didn't get a chance to go up Cemetery Hill for almost 3 months.
Yeah?
I heard, however, that Charlie had bought a car, and he and Joe were hardly seen anymore. They were always out riding. In fact, I doubt very much whether anyone had seen them in Berkeley or anyplace else during all that time.
You mean to say that neither Charlie nor Joe were seen in 3 whole months?
Well, that's right. But that wasn't anything unusual. You see, even before Charlie came to Berkeley, Joe very rarely came to town. Only a very few people went to see him. He didn't have any friends except a few of us kids.
I see.
Well, it was about 3 months after Charlie had arrived that this car full of men pulled up and asked where Charlie Larkin lived, and I told them...
Yes, I know. You told them and then began to worry because you remembered what Joe had told you about Charlie's being in some sort of trouble with a mob of gangsters.
Well, that's right. And when I heard that Charlie had been killed, I immediately thought that those men were responsible. I thought that they'd met Charlie somewhere along Valley Road and hit him on the head and killed him, and then piled him into the car and started it through the rail fence so that it would crash on the Valley Road.
And do you still believe that?
No, sir. I've changed my mind.
And you believe you know who's responsible for Charlie's death?
No, sir.
But I thought that you must...
When you see, sir, Charlie isn't dead.
Charlie isn't... Say, wait a minute. What do you think I am? Charlie isn't dead.
Well,
Why-
that's right, sir. You see, Joe's dead.
Joe is. And Charlie isn't? Well, that's very funny. Very funny.
Well, it's not a bit funny, Donnelly. Let Jerry explain.
Okay. You've got a lot of explaining to do. Go ahead.
Well, yes, sir. I know it's hard to believe, but during the 3 months that Charlie and Joe weren't seen by anyone, Charlie grew a beard just like Joe's, and even changed his way of talking. Then, when he was absolutely sure of himself, he hit Joe on the head, killed him, and then shaved off Joe's beard, took his glasses, and from then on, Charlie was Joe.
And Joe was dead.
Exactly. Charlie put Joe's body into the car, drove along Valley Road until he came to that sharp curve. Then he jumped out, started the car through the rail fence, and watched it crash.
And then returned to the hut and waited for things to start popping.
That's right.
Well, it's possible, but try to prove it. You've got to have proof.
And I've got it. Charlie was always a heavy smoker, while Joe never smoked in his life. And this morning, when I was in the hut, I saw an ashtray filled with half-smoked cigarettes. And the air was heavy with cigarette smoke. Besides, the fingers on his right hand are all discovered with nicotine stains.
Well, that's something.
And there's more. Joe had a deep reddish ridge under the bridge of his nose where his glasses rested. There isn't any such mark on Charlie's nose. I made sure of that this morning. You see, he hasn't been wearing glasses long enough to have a mark like that.
Well, there isn't anything I can say, Jerry. There's nothing left to say. You've said it all, and it looks like you've solved the case. All we have to do is break Charlie down, and I will...
And so Charlie, or Joe as he still called himself, was called down to headquarters. After he'd been there a little while...
Well, Joe, we just called you in to let you know that your troubles are over.
Well, I sure am glad to hear that. Some of them detectives of yours were just about driving me crazy.
Sorry, Joe, but you know how it is. Duty is duty.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Oh, by the way, have a cigarette.
Oh, no thanks. I don't smoke. Never have. Never will.
Oh, is that so?
Yep. Charlie was the smoker, though. Why, he used to smoke as many as 3 packs of cigarettes a day.
You don't say. You know, Joe, I was thinking of you the other day.
You were?
Yeah. You remember the time we went hunting together over toward Greenwood?
Yeah, I sure do. It was one swell day, weren't it?
Well, no, I didn't expect you to say that, Joe. After all, that was the day you sprained your ankle.
Why, yes, so it was. I clean forgot about that.
Yeah, you must have. But we did have some good times together, didn't we? For instance, last spring.
Yeah, last spring.
What day do you remember most clearly, Joe?
There wasn't any day in particular. They were all swell days.
Yeah, they sure were. Only we didn't spend them together, Joe.
Huh?
And we never went hunting. And you never sprained your ankle. And you're not Joe.
Why, what do
Don't
you...
make a move, Charlie Larkin. I've got you covered.
Charlie Larkin, why, Charlie's dead.
Oh, no, he's not. Not yet. But he will be soon. Charlie is going to die in the electric chair for killing his brother, Joe. He's going to...
No, I didn't kill Joe. I tell you, I
So you didn't kill Joe?
No, I...
Then you admit that you're Charlie.
No, I'm Joe. I'm Joe, do you hear
Whatever
me?
your name is, it doesn't matter. We're going to swap that name for a number, Charlie. And it won't be long before that number is up. You may as well confess and get it off your chest. After all, you haven't got a chance in the world of proving anything wrong.
And finally, Charlie did confess, and it turned out that everything had happened just as we figured it out. Gosh, it sure was a crazy hunch, but it certainly panned out. Well, so long, fellas, and lots of luck.
Stand by. All Junior G-men, stand by. Stand by for thrilling details concerning the next broadcast.